Ladies and gentlemen, let's begin with a truth that too few people understand. Your brain, your body, your mood, your energy, even your ambition are all built from the microscopic decisions you make each day. And some of the smallest, most overlooked decisions, they live inside the pills or powders you ignore on your shelf. Those bottles of essential vitamins aren't just supplements. They're tools of transformation, keys to unlocking the full potential of your mind and body. There are certain compounds, specific vitamins and micronutrients that don't just support your health in some vague way. No, they are direct modulators of how you feel, think, move, sleep, age, and even love. These are not optional for human optimization. When you give your system what it's actually designed to receive, the brain begins to fire with more clarity. The body stops surviving and starts thriving. Energy no longer crashes mid-day. Mood no longer spirals without warning, and your goals no longer feel out of reach. They begin to feel inevitable. Take vitamin B6, for example. It's not just a brain vitamin, it's a co-factor in the production of serotonin and dopamine. That means without enough B6, your body literally cannot manufacture the chemicals of motivation and joy. Or consider vitamin D3, not just for bones, but for regulating over 1,000 genes, boosting testosterone, reinforcing the immune system, and anchoring the very circadian clock that determines your sleep and energy rhythms. Magnesium isn't simply for relaxation. It's a neurological stabilizer, calming excess excitation in the brain and setting the foundation for deeper sleep and smoother focus. Combine it with omega-3 fatty acids, especially DHA, and you're literally rebuilding the physical structure of your neurons and improving synaptic plasticity, which is your brain's ability to learn and adapt. Without these key molecules, you're asking your brain to operate with outdated wiring and your body to run without fuel. But here's the deeper truth. It's not about chasing the next big supplement. It's about developing the discipline of consistency. The brain is a frequency-based organ. It doesn't respond to what you do once, it responds to what you do daily. This means every time you wake up and nourish your body with the right micronutrients, you are making a vote for a clearer mind, a more capable body, and a more focused path toward your future. This is not hype, this is hard neuroscience. These compounds don't just help, they interact, they synergize. Vitamin C regenerates vitamin EB, vitamins cross-support methylation pathways. Zinc affects testosterone, which then modulates dopamine. The system is intricate, but the rules are simple. Feed it what it was biologically designed to expect, and it will reward you with transformation. Because when your brain chemistry is clean, when your hormones are balanced, when your mitochondria are fueled, and your sleep is deep, everything else becomes easier. Discipline is easier. Joy is easier. Memory, movement, connection, even resilience all rise upward when your cellular foundation is built on what is essential, not optional. These vitamins aren't just capsules. They're leverage, they're instructions, they're biochemical permissions for your brain and body to rise above the noise of fatigue, mental fog, and emotional instability. But none of this works if it's only occasional. The real magic lies in daily ritual, not when you feel like it every day, especially the days you don't feel like it. Because those are the days when your future self is forged. Your potential is not waiting for some perfect moment. It's waiting for a decision, a daily one. And when you make that decision again and again, your biology begins to trust you. Your brain begins to respond, and your future begins to transform. Every single thought you have, every emotion you feel, every goal you chase, all of it is orchestrated by the invisible dance of neurochemicals firing in your brain. And those neurochemicals, dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine, acetylcholine, GABA, don't just appear out of thin air. They are synthesized from raw materials, many of which come directly from the micronutrients you either do or don't give your body each day. When you begin to understand this, you stop treating nutrition as something optional and start seeing it as a foundational force in shaping your mental clarity, motivation, emotional resilience, and cognitive edge. The truth is that your brain is a chemical factory, constantly building, breaking down, modulating, and recycling neurotransmitters, and that entire process depends heavily on your micronutrient status. For example, if you're low in vitamin B6, your brain's ability to convert the amino acid tryptophan into serotonin, your natural antidepressant, becomes impaired. If you're deficient in magnesium, your nervous system remains stuck in a heightened state of excitation, leading to anxiety, poor sleep, and inability to focus. If your body lacks enough folate and B12, methylation pathways slow down, affecting everything from mood regulation to memory formation. These aren't just theoretical concerns, they're daily biochemical realities. People often wonder why they feel anxious, distracted, exhausted, or unmotivated without realizing that the architecture of their brain chemistry is being starved by chronic micronutrient insufficiency. And it's not just about what you eat once in a while, it's about what you supply your nervous system with every single day. When you consume foods and supplements rich in brain-essential vitamins like the full spectrum of Bcomplex, especially B1, B6, B9, and B12, vitamin D3, magnesium, choline, and omega-3 fatty acids, you are essentially upgrading the quality of your neurotransmission. You're improving the ability of neurons to communicate rapidly, to reset efficiently, and to adapt to new inputs. This biochemical environment is what allows for neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to change itself in response to new goals, new habits, and new learning. The daily supply of these nutrients functions like giving your internal chemistry lab the ingredients it needs to work at optimal capacity. Micronutrients don't just passively support your brain, they actively determine how your brain operates in real time. They modulate the activity of enzymes that control the speed of chemical reactions in the brain, affect receptor sensitivity, determine the integrity of neuronal membranes, and influence whether or not your cells produce the kind of electrical activity that keeps you sharp, calm, focused, and emotionally grounded. Without the right inputs, the system can't run correctly. But with them, when you consistently feed your brain the exact molecules it evolved to expect, something profound happens. Your mood stabilizes, your thoughts get clearer, your focus lasts longer, your energy remains steady, and you start moving through your day with a sense of control and momentum that feels natural, not forced. This is the power of optimizing brain chemistry through daily micronutrient habits, not through occasional fixes or random choices, but through deliberate, science-informed, and consistent daily action that builds the internal foundation for everything else you want to achieve. Your brain is not just a passive recipient of nutrients. It's a dynamic, time-sensitive organ that responds differently depending on when certain inputs arrive. This includes not just light, movement, and sleep cues, but also the nutrients you provide through food and supplementation. Timing your intake of key vitamins, minerals, and amino acids isn't a matter of convenience. It's a neurological strategy that can radically enhance your brain's ability to grow, change, and form new connections. This process, neuroplasticity, is the biological basis of learning, healing, habit change, and memory consolidation. And it is not static. It opens and closes like a gate throughout your day, influenced by both internal rhythms and external cues. Nutritional timing is one of the most potent levers you can pull to optimize that gate and unlock the full capacity of your brain to adapt and evolve. There are certain windows in your 24-hour cycle when your brain is more primed to rewire itself, moments when neuromodulators like acetylcholine, norepinephrine, and brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, are elevated, creating the ideal internal chemistry for plasticity. These windows can be enhanced or diminished depending on your nutrient intake. For example, consuming choline-rich foods or phosphatidylserine early in the day, especially with protein, can enhance acetylcholine production and make your neurons more responsive to new inputs. Similarly, ensuring that your body has the B vitamins and magnesium it needs during the early active phase of your circadian rhythm can help maintain healthy dopamine tone and support the focus and drive necessary for plastic changes to occur. Moreover, the post-exercise window is a critical period when the brain is in a heightened state of receptivity. After even a brief session of intense physical activity, the body elevates BDNF, norepinephrine, and other neuromodulators that signal the brain it's time to rewire, providing key micronutrients during this window, such as omega-3s for synaptic membrane fluidity, vitamin C for antioxidant support, and tyrosine to reinforce dopamine recovery, enhances the plastic response. Similarly, the pre-sleep period is another nutritional opportunity. Taking magnesium, vitamin B6, and certain amino acids before bed can support the parasympathetic nervous system, optimize GABA signaling, and aid in the memory consolidation processes that occur during deep sleep. Timing also matters for metabolic reasons. Many nutrients interact with insulin, cortisol, and melatonin rhythms, and consuming them at the wrong time can either blunt their impact or disrupt other systems. For example, vitamin D and B complex vitamins taken late at night can suppress melatonin and disrupt sleep architecture, whereas those same compounds consumed in the early part of the day help reinforce the brain's natural circadian alignment. The more you align your nutrient intake with your body's internal clocks, the more you begin to work with your biology instead of against it. This alignment amplifies your capacity to change, not just in abstract ways, but in measurable, structural, and behavioral transformations that can be felt and tracked over time. The brain's ability to adapt is not a fixed trait, it's an environment you can actively create. You create that environment with your habits, your focus, your sleep, your movement, and critically with the nutrients you supply and the timing of their delivery. There is a massive difference between taking the right vitamins occasionally and integrating them into your life with precision. Nutritional timing is how you signal to the nervous system Now is the time to learn. Now is the time to grow. Now is the time to repair and build new pathways. It is one of the most underutilized tools in the neuroscience of change, and it's available to you every single day through the decisions you make around food, supplementation, and consistency. At the core of every cell in your body, including neurons in your brain and muscle fibers in your limbs, lie microscopic power plants called mitochondria. And the quality of your life, your energy, your mental sharpness, even your lifespan is directly tied to the health and efficiency of these tiny but powerful organelles. Mitochondria are responsible for generating ATP, the energy currency of the body, and when they are working well, you feel it as stamina, clarity, strength, and resilience. But when they are undernourished, overwhelmed, or damaged, whether due to poor lifestyle choices, chronic stress, environmental toxins, or nutritional deficiencies, you feel it as fatigue, brain fog, premature aging, and a subtle erosion of your drive to act. Mitochondria are not just passive energy producers, they are active signaling hubs that influence inflammation, hormone production, neuroplasticity, and the aging process itself. Supporting mitochondrial health isn't just about feeling better in the moment. It's about extending your capacity to perform, adapt, and stay biologically youthful over time. Every mitochondrion requires specific micronutrients to function optimally. Coenzyme Q1000-CoQ-ARD, for example, is critical for the electron transport chain, the very machinery that converts food into ATP. Without adequate CoQ10, mitochondrial output declines, and so does your energy. Similarly, B vitamins, particularly B2 riboflavin, B3 niacin, and B5, there's pantothenic acid, act as cofactors in numerous mitochondrial reactions. A lack of these compounds can impair your cell's ability to burn fat efficiently, regulate blood sugar, and sustain output under physical or cognitive demand. Carnitine is another essential nutrient that shuttles fatty acids into the mitochondria where they're used for fuel. Without it, your metabolic engine is starved, even if your diet is technically rich in calories. Then there's alpha-lipoic acid, an antioxidant that not only neutralizes harmful free radicals produced during energy production, but also helps regenerate other antioxidants like vitamin C and E, keeping the mitochondrial environment clean and functional. But supporting mitochondria goes beyond simply taking a list of supplements. It involves understanding the timing, the synergy, and the behavioral rhythms that amplify or suppress mitochondrial biogenesis, the process by which your body actually creates new mitochondria. Exercise, particularly high-intensity interval training and resistance work, is one of the most powerful triggers for mitochondrial expansion. But that adaptation only takes place if the raw materials, the micronutrients, are present. Fasting, or strategic caloric restriction, is another way to stimulate mitochondrial repair through processes like mitophagy, where damaged mitochondria are cleared out and replaced. Yet again, this process relies heavily on adequate nutritional reserves, especially of magnesium, zinc, selenium, and B vitamins, to prevent dysfunction during cellular turnover. Mitochondrial health is also deeply intertwined with your brain's performance. Neurons are some of the most energy-hungry cells in the human body, and when mitochondrial function declines, cognition follows. This is one reason why mitochondrial dysfunction is now recognized as a driver of neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. By contrast, optimizing mitochondrial capacity has been shown to improve working memory, focus, neuroplasticity, and even emotional regulation. When your mitochondria are producing clean, efficient energy, your brain is simply sharper, faster, and more adaptable. And since mitochondria are passed down maternally and encoded into every cell, protecting their function isn't just about momentary performance. It's about delaying aging at the cellular level, preserving muscle mass, maintaining organ function, and ensuring long-term resilience against chronic disease. The signals you send your mitochondria through your daily actions are cumulative. They respond to what you eat, when you eat, how you move, how you sleep, and whether or not you flood them with the micronutrients they require to thrive. Vitamins like D3, C, K2, minerals like magnesium and selenium, and compounds like PQQ and nadine's precursors all play distinct roles in either protecting mitochondria, enhancing their efficiency, or helping your body build more of them. Every time you make the conscious choice to nourish this energy-producing system, you're not just increasing your vitality for the day, you are literally reinforcing the biological infrastructure that will determine how you feel, function, and perform not just now, but in the decades to come. Hormones are the silent architects behind your energy, your mood, your metabolism, your focus, your sleep, your sex drive. Virtually every system in your body is either directly controlled by or profoundly influenced by hormones. But hormones are not created in a vacuum. They are synthesized, transported, activated, deactivated, and regulated through intricate biochemical processes that rely on a steady stream of micronutrients to function properly. When these essential nutrients are missing or imbalanced, hormonal chaos follows, not just on lab tests, but in the lived experience of brain fog, irritability, stubborn fat gain, poor sleep quality, low libido, chronic fatigue, and emotional instability. Stabilizing hormones is not about manipulating them forcefully with synthetic inputs. It's about supplying the precise nutritional substrates your endocrine system depends on to maintain balance, adapt to stress, and support peak performance across the day and lifespan. Vitamin D3, for example, is often misunderstood as simply a bone health supplement, when in fact it acts more like a hormone itself. It influences gene expression in over 1,000 areas of the body and plays a direct role in regulating testosterone, estrogen, and immune modulating hormones. But when D3 is deficient, which is true for a large percentage of the population, hormonal signaling becomes blunted, testosterone levels fall, immune function weakens, and energy production dips. Similarly, vitamin B6 is essential for the synthesis of neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, but it also plays a critical role in regulating progesterone and estrogen balance, especially in stress states or hormonal transitions. Without enough B6, mood can destabilize, PMS symptoms intensify, and the body's ability to modulate hormonal rhythms becomes compromised. Zinc is another heavy hitter in the hormonal conversation. It is required for the production and release of testosterone and is vital in regulating immune function, thyroid hormone conversion, and even the integrity of insulin signaling. A deficiency in zinc can result in decreased androgen levels, impaired fertility, and a slower metabolism, outcomes that people often try to correct with medications without ever addressing the root nutritional cause. Then there's magnesium, the mineral most people are quietly deficient in, yet it's responsible for over 300 enzymatic reactions, many of which regulate the stress hormone cortisol. Magnesium helps buffer the nervous system's response to daily stressors, supporting adrenal health and preserving the delicate balance between alertness and relaxation. When cortisol remains unchecked due to nutrient depletion, other hormones like testosterone, DHEA, and thyroid hormone begin to dysregulate, setting off a cascade of dysfunction across multiple systems. Ironically, even healthy hormonal rhythms such as those that regulate sleep and wake cycles, namely melatonin and cortisol, require specific nutrients to function. Melatonin synthesis depends on sufficient levels of tryptophan, B6, and magnesium. Cortisol regulation is dependent on vitamin C, pantothenic acids, B5, and a healthy functioning HPA axis, which itself is fueled by nutrients that support adrenal resilience. And thyroid hormone, often the overlooked player in the energy and mood equation, requires selenium, iodine, iron, and tyrosine for proper production and activation. Disruptions in any one of these nutrients can affect not just the hormone being produced, but also its ability to bind to receptors and influence downstream physiological processes. This is why a nutrient-dense diet and strategic supplementation plan is not just a health trend, it's a form of biochemical literacy. It's a way of feeding your body's hormonal intelligence with the tools it evolved to work with. These tools include fat-soluble vitamins like A, D, E, and K2, which help with hormone transport, and gene expression water-soluble vitamins like Bcomplex and C, which fuel the stress response and neurotransmitter balance, and trace minerals like chromium, copper, manganese, and selenium, which fine-tune everything from insulin sensitivity to thyroid precision. Your hormonal system is not broken. It's responsive. It adapts to what you give it, or fail to give it, each day. It is always seeking equilibrium, but it cannot do that if the fundamental nutrients required for balance are missing. Sleep is not just rest, it is one of the most metabolically active, hormonally regenerative, and neurologically restorative phases of your 24-hour biology. Likewise, wakefulness isn't merely the absence of sleep, it is a state governed by powerful rhythms, chemical oscillations, and internal clocks that anticipate and regulate your energy, attention, and alertness. At the heart of this cycle is your circadian rhythm, a deeply embedded 24-hour system hardwired into your brain and every cell in your body. But this rhythm is not self-sustaining in isolation. It relies on consistent external cues, known as zeitgebers, to stay in sync, and among the most underutilized and potent of these cues are nutritional anchors. What you eat, when you eat, and which micronutrients you ingest can directly influence the hormonal pulses, neurotransmitter surges, and genetic expressions that govern your sleep-wake balance, shaping everything from mental sharpness and emotional regulation during the day to the depth of sleep and cellular repair at night. For example, morning nutrition rich in protein and micronutrients like tyrosine, B vitamins, and magnesium helps signal the brain to begin its daytime mode, raising dopamine, norepinephrine, and cortisol in a healthy, pulsatile way that promotes wakefulness, focus, and movement. These nutrients support the production of catecholamines, the molecules that keep you driven and attentive, and their presence early in the day helps anchor your biological rhythm to a strong morning start. Eating in alignment with light exposure, especially with a protein-rich meal shortly after waking, helps reinforce the brain's central circadian pacemaker, the suprachiasmatic nucleus, which coordinates hormonal release, core body temperature, and cognitive arousal with the time of day. As the day progresses, the type and timing of nutrients you consume continue to send signals to your biological clock. Large or late evening meals high in carbohydrates or saturated fats can delay melatonin secretion and disrupt the decline of cortisol, preventing the natural downward slope into rest. However, targeted nutritional strategies in the evening can facilitate the opposite, aiding the body's transition into a parasympathetic, recovery-oriented state. Nutrients like magnesium glycinate, theanine, vitamin B6, glycine, and even tryptophan-rich foods help support the synthesis of serotonin and its conversion to melatonin, the hormone that regulates sleep onset and depth. Magnesium, in particular, plays a dual role by relaxing the nervous system and helping regulate GBA, the primary inhibitory neurotransmitter that slows brainwave activity and facilitates the deepening of sleep stages. Micronutrients like zinc and omega-3 fatty acids also play a crucial role in modulating the inflammatory cytokines and hormonal feedback loops that determine sleep architecture, the depth, quality, and duration of your sleep stages. A lack of these nutrients can lead to shallow sleep, increased nighttime awakenings, and insufficient time in REM and slow wave sleep, which are essential for memory consolidation and physical recovery. Additionally, consistent intake of vitamin D during the early day supports proper circadian alignment, as D receptors are involved in melatonin regulation and immune function during the sleep cycle. Without sufficient levels, the timing and quality of sleep can be significantly altered. Even hydration and mineral balance, particularly sodium, potassium, and calcium, have a subtle but meaningful influence on sleep rhythms. These electrolytes regulate fluid balance and nerve conductivity, and imbalances can lead to frequent night waking, difficulty falling asleep, or a restless mind. The body uses cues from nutrient flux to determine whether it's in a state of safety or stress. And if the signal is stress, it won't let you descend into restorative sleep. No matter how tired you are, your body is continuously receiving information through food, not just about energy supply, but about what time of day it is and whether it's safe to initiate rest or required to remain alert. Every micronutrient becomes part of a symphony of signals that calibrate internal clocks, reset hormonal rhythms, and influence how you feel across the entire spectrum of the day. Anchoring your circadian rhythm with consistent nutritional inputs, bright morning feeding, anti-inflammatory nutrients through the day, and calming, sleep-facilitating compounds in the evening is one of the most powerful, sustainable, and biologically intelligent strategies you can use to optimize not only your sleep, but the quality of your entire waking life. Dopamine is not just a pleasure chemical, it's the engine behind your motivation, your drive to act, your ability to focus, and your willingness to pursue long-term goals in the face of challenge and resistance. It is what moves you toward effort, but dopamine is not created out of thin air. It is built, regulated, and modulated through a complex set of biochemical steps that are directly dependent on the availability and balance of specific micronutrients. When these nutrients are consistently provided in the right combinations and at the right times, they create a biochemical environment in the brain that supports sustained dopamine tone, adaptive motivation, and resilience against burnout or impulsivity. This is not about hacks or quick fixes. It's about understanding and leveraging the natural synergy between micronutrients to support the internal chemistry of forward momentum and purpose-driven behavior. At the core of dopamine synthesis is the amino acid tyrosine, which the body converts into L-DOPA and then into dopamine. This process cannot occur efficiently without key cofactors, particularly vitamin B6, folates B9, vitamin B12, and iron. These vitamins are not optional background players. They are essential catalysts in the enzymatic reactions that allow dopamine production to proceed. A deficiency in just one of them, especially B6 or B12, can significantly reduce dopamine output, leading to symptoms like low motivation, poor focus, anhedonia, and even depressive states. That's why people often feel mentally foggy or apathetic, not because they lack ambition, but because their brains are running on a chemically depleted engine due to chronic micronutrient insufficiency. Vitamin C also plays a crucial role in the final step of converting dopamine into norepinephrine, another vital molecule for alertness and energy. Without enough vitamin C, this conversion slows down and the balance between calm drive and overexcitement is lost. Zinc, on the other hand, influences the sensitivity and density of dopamine receptors. It's not enough to simply produce dopamine. Your brain also needs to receive it efficiently. Without adequate zinc, even optimal dopamine levels can feel muted or ineffective. leading to a sense of blunted motivation or lack of reward. Omega-3 fatty acids, especially DHA, enhance receptor sensitivity and preserve the fluidity of neuronal membranes, allowing neurotransmitters like dopamine to bind more effectively and signal with clarity. Magnesium, often overlooked, is a stabilizing force in dopamine regulation. It helps buffer the release of dopamine, preventing the sharp highs and crashing lows that can lead to addictive tendencies or burnout cycles. It works synergistically with Bcomplex vitamins to sustain dopamine tone, keeping you in a zone of stable, goal-oriented effort rather than chasing erratic peaks of excitement. In addition, apoptogenic support from micronutrient-rich like Robiola roses or compounds like PQQ and NAD's precursors help reduce oxidative stress on dopaminergic neurons, preserving their long-term function and responsiveness. Timing and nutrient pairing are also critical. Consuming protein-rich meals with tyrosine-containing foods early in the day, supported by complex vitamins and magnesium, primes the brain to enter a dopaminergic state, one of focus, drive, and proactive behavior. Caffeine, when paired with L-theanine and taken alongside these nutrients, can further amplify dopamine receptor activity without the crash associated with stimulant overuse. But none of this works if your system lacks the underlying micronutrient foundation. You can't force motivation chemically if the brain lacks the building blocks for motivation biologically. True drive, the kind that sustains effort over days, weeks, and months, is not the product of willpower alone. It is the result of a healthy dopaminergic system built and maintained by micronutrient synergy. It requires consistent support from compounds like vitamin D, choline, B vitamins, iron, zinc, magnesium, omega-3s, and antioxidants like vitamin C and selenium that protect dopamine neurons from oxidative wear and tear. When these nutrients are present and in balance, the entire motivational circuitry of the brain, from the ventral tegmental area to the nucleus accumbent to the prefrontal cortex, becomes more responsive, more efficient, and more sustainable. The result is not only an increase in drive, but an increase in directed drive, the kind that supports discipline, long-term goals, and the capacity to face discomfort for the sake of something meaningful.